We are live April 19th on Wednesday night's TSL online call. Very early on in the night, we have a great question. So what is it that you do to start getting laid again? We've all gone through this process if you've been sexually active, where you go through a dry spell, and how do you get back started in it? And it can freak you out, man. It can freak you out big time. Or you're somebody that, let's say you've been in a relationship like myself. You've only had sex with one person for a few years. In fact, this was brought up earlier on the call in the check-ins, was that, man, you're married for so long, then the sex dies down because those things happen in a relationship and nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that on the real. And then what do you do when you want to start having sex again? Or perhaps you get divorced and you want to start having sex with new people again. How does that work? And see, this lack of sexual activity puts us in an interesting place, man. There was a great man who went by the name of Jason Savage about, in 2010, I remember he came back from Europe. I picked him up from the airport. We went to go get a new car for him. It was a great experience because we were talking about all this, working on cars and stuff like that. And I'm not great at it, but we're like, man, nobody in this industry can do that shit. Nobody can do man stuff. But he said, one of the best things that you can do if you're not having sex is have sex by any means possible. I don't give a shit if you get a hooker. I don't give a shit if it's easy. I don't give a if you need to get active in order to build your sense of awareness. So that all being said, before I get too carried away with this, I want to talk to you guys about what this podcast is. The Sexual Life Podcast is here to answer any questions and build a community for men who care about getting better with their sex lives. You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on iTunes. You can listen to it on Stitcher, and you can most likely follow the links down below wherever you're listening to this or watching this and find out more about it. But what's most important is that you join our free Austin Men's Development Group. You don't have to live in Austin, but that's how we communicate. It's on Facebook. It's for free. But like any free group, there's just a lot of traffic that comes in and out, a lot of people that take, a lot of people that just kind of browse around. And if you want to step it up, and really start to experience what we are and what these calls are where we record this. Like this one, it's almost 9 p.m. on Wednesday night when we're recording it. Man, you can join our membership group, and for at the current time, for $55 a month, you can jump on 2 calls a week. You can come in any point in those calls. This call lasts about 4 hours. There's a Sunday call that went on for 18 hours on Easter last week. And you just come on and off whenever you want and talk to myself, talk to the other guys who are on the call, different coaches. And a lot of those coaches are better than me. So definitely get involved with that. We do this to spread the word because it's a great thing, man. This is what everybody wants. We have it, very accessible. Just do it. You don't need to commit tons of time and all that sort of stuff. And we have programs for that if you want that. It's just something where we can intermix. But let's get back to this question. This is something that we all go through. How do we start getting laid again? Because when we haven't gotten laid a while, we fucking think all this crazy stuff. Our beliefs go totally nuts in terms of what we think our sex and sexuality is. We think that, man, we don't have it in us, or we're no longer a man, or we're a failure. All those little insecurities that we had in childhood, or things that were unresolved that may have happened to us more recently, or our last relationship, all get heightened into this thing where it's like, oh my God, I'm so different than everybody. And this is a totally unique problem, and I can relate with nobody. And it's just, I'm screwed for forever. And I'll never get this right. Even though, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 months ago, I was getting laid a lot. And I, like I said, man, this happens whenever we start to focus on that urge again and we lose our chops. The best thing you can do is prioritize your life to start having sex. And this does not take much. To have sex with people is easy. To get laid as a guy, as a single man, is a simple thing, right? And I know there's some guys out there doubting and going like, oh yeah, Steve, you can say that because you're, whatever. You didn't grow up with my culture, or you are not short. I am short. You're not as short as me, or and there's guys out there. I mean, we've had a ton of clients like this who are like, but man, I have a huge dick and it hurts women. Everybody's like, what the fuck? Or other guys will be like, no, but you don't understand. I have a small penis, or I'm addicted to porn, or I can't get it up. There's all these excuses that you have in your mind. And that's what you're keeping from letting yourself have an experience that you're driven towards, that you're feeling, that you want to have, that is your life inside of you, man. It is so much. And that your drive for that is true. It's not a bad thing. It's going to fulfill you. It's going to give you something which is going to bring you happiness, completion, your sense of masculinity, your sense of self. It's going to allow you to love and appreciate women, actually get the meaning of socializing and get the meaning of sexuality. It's all going to get tied into that. And that's where your urge is coming from. It's not a bad thing, man. It's fucking great. It may have hurt you in the past, but follow that motherfucker. But the one thing that's keeping you from getting laid are your beliefs. And that's it. Man, it's as simple as this. You go out and, you might have a poor skill set that you need to work on, but you go out 3 times a week for an hour, hour and a half. You go sit at a cafe, you meet somebody, you give some sort of small talk. And this is more speaking to the gentleman who asked the question because he had a skill set. He was getting laid. He knows what's up with that. But you put yourself in a good situation where you meet some people, could be online, whatever it is, and you start talking to them. And this is all it needs to be. Because there's so much that exists off of you being a man and her being a woman and both of you being heterosexual that works beyond all that status and fucking, cocaine, smoke and mirrors lifestyle that we all like. And don't get me wrong, that shit gets you a lot of attention and a lot of women give their pussies to that and a lot of men give their balls and dick to that. But at the same time, man, the human nature, it cannot be broken. No matter what culture, think about this. I know it's sidetracking a little bit. No matter what culture, what religion, what society has tried to put a cage around sex and box it, it has failed. It has failed. Biology will always win. It will always win. Now, don't get me wrong. There might be some people who, let's say a religion that I don't exist by or live by might be Mormonism, might be Islam. It might be a certain faction of Buddhism. Sex is always going to win. You cannot have a society that integrates men and women in it, control its beliefs to the point where it will ignore sex. It will ignore the sexual nature. It will ignore the nature of us to wanting to, connect with a female, connect with beauty when we see it, connect with sex when we see it, connect with lust when we see it. Those are all things that are so in there. I mean, you have that in you. You have it in you. You might be different. You might be a little bit shorter. You might be a little bit taller. You might have a huge dick that destroys women. You might have a small dick. You might not be able to get it up. You might be addicted to porn, all this sort of stuff. But I guarantee you, all those things build an extreme belief in your head. And especially if you're not having sex, it gets bigger. If you are having sex and you're able to get sex to a functioning point, those beliefs get smaller. You've got to get there. So if you go out 3 times a week, hour and a half, you talk to some people, you put yourself out there, you're a man, she's a woman, and you get a little bit close, right? You don't get far, 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 far away. You get a little bit close and you say something like, you ask her something about herself. There's so many different ways to do it. So many different ways, but you ask her something about herself. She tells you, she shows her real self to you, and you go, man, that's really attractive. I would like to see more of you. Let's do it. Let's make that happen. And then you kind of know that with women, there's a little bit of a fear about going on a date with a guy. There's a little bit of a fear about being sexual with a guy. There's a little bit of a fear about not being seen as you don't want to be seen as a slut if you're a girl. And so you know that you might need to press a little bit harder. You might need to alleviate those fears. You might need to pressure the date a little bit more. You might need to say things like, oh man, are you second guessing me already? Come on, no, it's good. I'm a nice guy. It's totally cool. Like, we're gonna have a good time. Let's just go have a 15-minute date. Let's just go have a 15-minute coffee. We'll meet up and hang out. If we want to go any further, it's totally cool. Man, get the easy yes. Get in front of her. Get the situation to happen. All you need for it to happen is you guys need to be close together and alone. And then guess what we do? You're like, oh, fuck, I've been alone with girls all the time and they're just my friends. I get friend zoned all the time. Well, don't act like a friend. And you always got to push a little bit of intent. But here's what will guarantee you getting out of the friend zone. Take it to the next level to get a kiss. Get a kiss. There's so many different ways to do it, especially if you're a member. You can access the Formula 69 program. That's a great program for it. But I'll give you a little bit of a hack to video 4 or 5, or I forget what it is, but to get the kiss. Man, one of the greatest lines, and there's so many different lines that you could do, but one of the greatest lines is, I would do this on my dates. I'd meet a girl, be out for drinks somewhere. I'd be drinking my soda water with a lime. She'd be drinking whatever she was drinking because I don't drink. And a lot of guys get all weird about that. Like, man, but if you don't drink, Like, don't they think you're weird? Fuck, man, I don't give a shit. I don't drink because I don't want to drink. Why am I so, why would, like, it's like, people get so caught up about shit, thinking that they're different. Oh, fuck, man. Like, own that shit. God damn it. It's great. So anyway, she'd have her drink and I'd get to the point where I'd be like, man, you know what? This girl's cool. Like, and I'm starting to feel it with this girl. It took me about 15, 20 minutes. Be on our date. Very early in the date. And I'd just say to her, I'd say, you know what? I could be wrong. I think that you like me and I know that I like you. And I was just thinking, if we were to go somewhere and have like a first kiss, like, where would that be? I want to know what that is for you. What would that be? Because women love the kiss. The kiss is great. If you talk to women about kissing, they'll say kissing's more important than sex and all this sort of stuff. And they'll go all into it. You bring up the kiss, you make it their choice. And you can even say, they go like, I wasn't thinking about that. Well, I don't want to sleep with you. I'm like, man, I wasn't asking that. I was just saying, like, where would a cool first kiss? Let's go there and hang out. We don't need to kiss. Let's go there and hang out. Because I want the situation to happen. I want physical sexual activity to happen in a way where she feels empowered. She feels like a woman. She feels like she can be safe. And man, when you give that to a woman, when you show her that she'll be respected and be seen as a woman, man, her sexuality comes out. And that sexuality is everything. That's everything. That's the good girl. That's the bad girl. That's the crazy girl. That's the girl that wants you to do all this shit that she wouldn't even think of telling you when she's in her social mind. Man, she'll have that with you. And that's the good stuff. But also, I want to start getting physical in a place where I can escalate straight to sex. This is another important thing just to keep in mind in your dating life. Like, if you're thinking about getting a kiss and you're in public, you're going to have to stop it. Okay. And there's a little caveat, but some solid dating advice. And if you've been in the scene or you've gotten laid enough, this will make a lot of sense to you. But I want to only get sexual or start on a sexual physical map when I can move it to a completion so we can fully have sex. So that's either her place or my place or wherever you're going to crudely get into that situation, which I don't know, man. You could pull some shit off in some crazy ways, but if you get caught, it might be a little bit embarrassing. And if the police go crazy with you, you get a sex offender charge. That's crazy. You have to go to everybody in your neighborhood and say that you were caught fucking in public. No, you don't want that shit. So, the thing is that a lot of times I would go for the kiss when we'd be in public and we wouldn't be able to finish to completion. So I have to stop it. And the reason for that is I want to stop it because I want to stop it before her resistance gets so much that it needs a little bit more finesse to get over. So what that would mean is we're making out, and we're getting into her, and as soon as she gets into it, as soon as I can feel her get weak in the knees or moan or something like that, I say, hey, I don't want to ruin the night. I really like you. Like, let's not get carried away. Let's talk about the weather. And that's literally what I would say. I'd say something random and stupid to get it off that thread. And they'd think it would be funny. And they'd have to calm themselves down because they just got like too crazy in a state. Now, I know that when I'm kissing her or making out with her and she starts to moan, that's also the time where she starts to get triggered to be like, wait, stop. Okay, so that's the exact point that is right before resistance. Let's say if I were at her place. And that's where I need to start working that 6 points of escalation. 6 points of escalation stuff. Watch Formula 69. It's on the membership site. But basically, like, I know resistance is going to happen right there. So that's where I stop it. I stop it first. And the reason why, again, I stop it is so that it has a completely different experience. She doesn't have the fear come in. She is now left with all this tension and overwhelming feeling of still wanting to have sex or wanting to continue or wanting to kiss or get swept away in it. But I stopped it, and I actually stopped it and was like, hey, I really like you, keyword, and I don't want to screw this up. Let's take things slow. All right? And so then when she calms down, like 15, 20 seconds later, she's like, oh my God, that guy was amazing. He definitely doesn't think I'm a slut. He definitely doesn't think I'm all these things that women so fear about their sexuality and their reputation and so on. So that being said, people, if you're not getting laid, it has to do with up here, especially if you have a skill set for it. I get if you're starting from zero, you don't know how to talk to people and all that sort of stuff. There's other videos for you to watch, and you need to get to a functioning level of where you can talk and interact with people. But if you're talking and interacting and getting women to pay attention to you and having that area of at least rapport, dude, the reason why you're not getting sexual is because you think you're not worthy of it. You're afraid of it. You don't want to. If the reality of having sex comes out and it's not so good, or it proves that you are the fuck up that you think you are because you watch too much porn, or you got dumped in your last relationship, or all women are whores, or whatever the fuck it is, like that's some for real stuff. And we as men, we're not honest about that. Rather than talking about that or having a dialogue about that, we have a dialogue about how tough we need to be and control everything, and how people then need to respect us just because we were born with penises and dicks and not with our actual actions of respect. All right. So we want to be a guy that fucking goes out there. We make our life happen. We make our life, what it is, and we build it in the greatest way, man. And that includes talking to people and connecting with people and seeing that socializing is a warm, beautiful thing, and sex is a warm, beautiful thing. And man, yeah, let's get there. Let's get there with it. So if you like this sort of stuff, of course, subscribe to the whatever channel you're on, YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. And then go to the link down below, because you can probably get a free download. So for instance, in the month of April, when I'm making this, we're giving away the text messaging guide, and it's a thorough guide of how to get sexual over text message. And it's great. It's free. You put in your email address, and then you get emails, which are cool. They're not bad emails. And when I have something to sell, I'll tell you about it. But for the most part, it's just like content of all the cool stuff that we're doing. Why? Because we want you to be a part of this community, because it's infinitely better. Because right now there's one guy talking, and there's probably like 10 or 15 other guys right now on this call that are probably more wise than me. And I want to hear them talk. So let's do that later.